which will return in 2 minutes. You're listening to the Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. What do we do here? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. That is not the news. That is opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. It is the Wells Report. And as we do on every morning that we come to the broadcast, it is time for us for a feature that we started a few months ago, and I hope you enjoy it. Time now for the Wells Report front page. This is a digest of news since yesterday's broadcast and while we were asleep. Obviously, yesterday, the big news was political. Speaker Kevin McCarthy was removed as Speaker of the House. This from USA Today. Republican Kevin McCarthy's deal with hardline House conservatives that handed him the Speaker's gavel in January unraveled yesterday as those same right-wing rebels, joined by Democrats, shoved him out of the Speaker's seat. McCarthy's 269-day reign as Speaker was ended by a 216-210 vote in a move that has no marker in modern history and paralyzes Congress for the time being. The rebellion was led by conservative hardliner Representative Matt Gaetz. It has roiled the House, and it's being called chaos by the mainstream media. The move to oust McCarthy, known as a motion to vacate, had the support of a handful of hardline right-wing lawmakers that have expressed anger at McCarthy for working with Democrats to avert a government shutdown. Gaetz led a group of 8 Republicans to remove the Speaker, joined by 208 Democrats who at times giggled at the GOP infighting. Republicans were not laughing, however, as the Civil War has cast a shadow over their majority. During the debate, some accused Gaetz of grandstanding and hurtling the House into chaos without a clear plan as to who, if anyone, would take over the job. The group of 8 House Republicans who joined with Democrats in this historic vote are as follows. This reported by CNN. Andy Biggs of Arizona, Ken Buck of Colorado, Tim Burchett of Tennessee, Eli Crane of Arizona, Matt Gaetz of Florida, Bob Good of Virginia, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, and Matt Rosendale of Montana. For his part, Representative Steve Scalise, he is the Republican from Louisiana. He is the majority leader in the U.S. House, is working to replace McCarthy. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise is seeking support to replace former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who was removed in a narrow vote early yesterday, according to Fox News. Sources familiar with the situation told Fox Scalise has been making calls behind the scenes to shore up support ahead of a possible vote next Wednesday to elect the next speaker. Representative Matt Gaetz, who introduced the motion to vacate against McCarthy that ultimately led to his removal, told reporters yesterday afternoon that Scalise would be a phenomenal speaker. McCarthy was temporarily replaced by Representative Patrick McHenry, the Republican from North Carolina, the new Speaker pro tempore of the House, who will preside over the chamber until a new speaker is elected. And yes, there are ideas that maybe the new speaker could be former President Donald Trump. This being reported by Fox News. As Kevin McCarthy booted from his post as House Speaker after a motion to vacate brought forth by Matt Gaetz. Texas Representative Troy Nehls, said in a statement yesterday afternoon his first order of business when the House reconvenes will be, quote, to nominate Donald J. Trump for Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, unquote. He went on to say, President Trump, the greatest president of my lifetime, has a proven record of putting America first and will make the House great again. He's not the only one. Representative Greg Steube, the Republican from Florida, followed suit in a post on X. He said yesterday, at Real Don Trump for Speaker. The next speaker does not have to be a current sitting member in the House, but every speaker in U.S. history has been so far. It's not the first time Trump has been floated as a nominee for the speakership either. In January, as McCarthy struggled to garner enough votes to secure his speakership, Matt Gaetz from Florida, cast a ballot for President Trump. Elsewhere in national news, this is breaking from WBAL television. Baltimore police are searching for a suspect after 5 young adults were injured last night in a shooting at Morgan State University that prompted active shooter alerts. Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley and Morgan State University Police Chief Lance Hatcher said university police officers were on patrol about 9:25 last night when they heard discharging weapons on campus. Police said 4 men and a woman, ages 18 to 22, suffered non-life-threatening injuries in the shooting. 4 of the 5 victims are Morgan State University students. The entire city of Baltimore aches for the Morgan community and for the victims and their families, also for our city as a whole, said Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott. Kaiser Permanente, also breaking news, has just walked off the job. More than 75,000 unionized employees said, no, we're not working today. One of the nation's largest not-for-profit health providers, Kaiser Permanente. They walked off the job today, marking the largest healthcare worker strike in U.S. history. The striking employees, who work across California, Colorado, Washington, Virginia, Oregon, and Washington, D.C., are represented by a coalition of 8 unions that comprise 40% of Kaiser Permanente's total staff. The strike began at 6 a.m. this morning and will run through Saturday morning. The unprecedented strike comes at a time of heightened labor activity across the U.S., with tens of thousands of workers across multiple industries taking to the picket lines for better pay and benefits. In the wake of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, however, healthcare workers in particular have been fighting for safer and more secure working environments. They are demanding improving staffing levels, arguing the current staff shortages are compromising patient care and taking many workers to the breaking point. Donald Trump in New York civil court just arrived there for the 3rd day of his trial. This being reported by CNN. Judge Arthur Engoron rebuked Donald Trump after the former president attacked his clerk in a social media post yesterday and forbade the parties from making any future comments about his staff. This morning, one of the defendants posted on a social media account a disparaging, untrue, and personally identifying post about a member of my staff. Although I have since ordered the post deleted, and apparently it was also emailed out to millions of other recipients, unquote. This according to Judge Engoron. Trump posted on Truth Social yesterday attacking Engoron's clerk, claiming she was a girlfriend to State Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a New York Democrat, and was showing a picture of the 2 of them together. It was not immediately clear where the connection between Engoron's clerk and Schumer was beyond taking a photo. CNN has reached out for Leader Schumer's to Leader Schumer's office for a comment. Also, by the way, questions are now being asked about the New York civil court judge valuations of Trump properties. A New York judge ruled last week that former President Donald Trump inflated the value of Mar-a-Lago by an eye-popping 2,300%. From 2011 to 2021, the Palm Beach County assessor appraised the market value of Mar-a-Lago at between $18 million and $27.6 million, Engoron wrote in his ruling. The judge noted that Trump valued Mar-a-Lago at between $426.5 million and $612 million, an overvaluation of at least 2,300% compared to the assessor's appraisal. Now, people are questioning that decision-making. Quote, appraisal values and market values are not the same thing. It's a well-known fact. This according to Eli Baracha, the chair of the School of Real Estate at Florida International University. He went on to say, quote, that's especially true for properties that are unique. It's very easy to argue that Mar-a-Lago is a unique property, unquote. Other people commented it's not correct to assume that a tax assessment and market value are the same thing. This according to Jonathan Miller, president and CEO of Miller Samuel Incorporated, a real estate appraisal company in New York City. The Biden family in the news. Hunter Biden has pled not guilty to a felony gun charge. This from the Wall Street Journal. Hunter Biden pled not guilty yesterday to felony gun charges, opening a fraught new chapter in his long legal saga in the same federal courthouse in Delaware where roughly 2 months earlier he had hoped to put those troubles behind him. Biden, who appeared during a 25-minute hearing, pled not guilty through his lawyer, Abbe Lowell, to 3 felony charges related to his 2018 purchase of a handgun during a court hearing that opened a new stage in the Justice Department's prosecution as his father campaigns for re-election. Biden said little in court except to acknowledge that he understood the charges against him. He also responded, yes, Your Honor, when he was asked whether he wanted to be continued or continue to be represented by the lawyers who joined him yesterday. In a statement released after the hearing, Abbe Lowell said the gun charges were, quote, the result of political pressure from President Trump and his MAGA allies to force the Justice Department to ignore the law and deviate from its policies in cases like this one. For his part, President Biden has forgiven another $9 billion in student loan debt. This from USA Today. Another 125,000 student loan borrowers will have $9 billion in student loan debt erased, according to the Biden administration, speaking this morning. Those borrowers were already eligible for cancellation through various programs, public service loan forgiveness for people working as teachers and healthcare workers, for instance, home income-driven repayment plans that link payments to wages and forgive balances after 20 or 25 years of payments, or discharges for those with disabilities. The forgiveness comes after a number of similar in June when the Supreme Court struck down President Joe Biden's original plan of providing up to $20,000 in loan forgiveness for most borrowers. Although the president was thwarted in his attempt at far-reaching relief, his administration has managed to chisel away at student debt on a smaller scale. Yesterday, it came out that Mega Millions is heating up. The Mega Millions is now up to an estimated $315 million. This is not to be confused with the Powerball. The Mega Millions jackpot, which is up for grabs again, has reached a whopping $315 million. The numbers were drawn last night, just after 11 p.m. If there's a winner, they choose the cash option. They'll go home with more than $140.3 million. This, according to the lottery. Here are the winning numbers: 3, 19, 32, 39, 59, and the Powerball was 24. I'm making this. There is another one. There is another lottery that's over $1 billion, and I'm getting those confused. This was the Powerball lottery, in case you were wondering. By the way, the Megaplier was 3X, and I don't have any idea what any of this means. I'm not a gambling guy, but good luck. If those are your numbers, do me a favor. Float me a couple of grand. It would really help me out a lot. And this, by the way, is National Taco Day. Deals and free food at Taco Bell, Moe's, Jack in the Box, and more. This being reported by USA Today. It may not fall on Tuesday this year, but get ready for all the chicken, carnitas, and chorizo that your taste buds, I keep saying that wrong, it's actually chorizo, your taste buds can tolerate. Taco lovers, National Taco Day returns today. From Taco Bell and California Tortilla to Moe's Southwest Grill and El Torito, chains across the U.S. are offering tasty deals ranging from free tacos to discounted margaritas to wash them down. Here are some of those. California Tortilla is celebrating National Taco Day by giving away a free taco coupon with any in-store purchase. The free taco offer is good in-store only while supplies last. Let's see, El Torito is offering its free street taco trio plate with a purchase of another entree of equal or greater value. Jack in the Box, those famous, tasty, cheap tacos, is celebrating by offering a 2-for-1 deal on their monster tacos, as well as the chain's new extra spooky Angry Monster Taco. Get two for the price of one, 99 cents at the Jack in the Box app. And that is today's front page. Obviously, the most shocking news of yesterday, aside from the shooting at Morgan State, good heavens, is the removal of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House for the first time in U.S. history. We'll have more about that coming up next. Stay right where you are.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. There was a shooting last night at Morgan State University outside of Baltimore. We joined WBAL Television in Baltimore for this report.
But first, I just want to let people know exactly where this happened. It happened in the scene behind me here, right in front of Thurgood Marshall Residence Hall. And it happened as the Murphy Fine Arts Center, which I am facing right now, was packed to capacity for homecoming activities. There were hundreds of people inside. There were people outside milling about when those shots were fired. And for a time, they thought this might have been an active shooter. Police, Baltimore City Police involved, Morgan State University Police, along with the FBI and ATF, did an extensive search of the building behind me here, and they determined that no one was inside. But at this point, it's not clear how many shooters may have been involved in this situation last night. Can you imagine getting that phone call that this university where your child goes has had this sort of situation happen? That is exactly what Jose Verdejo faced last night, and you drove from New Jersey to get your freshman daughter.
Yes.
You heard from a family friend that this happened?
Yes.
What went through your mind?
Oh, it was a jarring phone call. I was automatic, you just automatically call your child and pray that they're okay.
You drove from New Jersey. You felt very strongly you wanted to come and get your kid.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not only just come get her, but to be here with her.
She's a freshman. She was in the library at the time. You actually had to tell her what was happening. She hadn't had a notice yet?
No. She didn't know. When I called her, she said they weren't letting her out the library, letting the students out of the library, and I told her there was an active shooter. So then I could hear her turn around and tell the rest, oh, there's a shooting, because she said they didn't hear gunshots from the library. So I told her to stay away from the windows, and then I told her I'm gonna call you back. I called my wife and said we have to head out to the school. Then I called my daughter, let her know we were on her way.
How is she doing?
She's okay. She's afraid to go back to her room right now. She's, a little anxious.
And as a parent, you let your daughter go away to school, then you get a call like this. And you're right. You're not happy right now.
Well, I'm not happy because if this is really the third year in a row that this has happened during homecoming week, there should have been a lot more security presence. One time you can understand, maybe the second time, but now after it happened again last year, this year they should have been ready for something like this. They didn't even apprehend the person, so it's like they were sleeping.
Are you taking her home, or are you going to stay with her for the next couple of days?
Well, we don't know yet, because I want to speak to the faculty, the authorities in the school. I want to know how am I going to feel comfortable? How are they going to make me feel comfortable leaving my daughter behind?
You need some reassurance.
Yes.
Mr. Verdejo, thank you so much for sharing your story with us this morning. Certainly appreciate it. I'm glad to know that your daughter is okay.
All right, and we are very appreciative of WBAL Television for allowing us to see that report and share it with you today. Indeed, this is something that is part and parcel of life in many of America's biggest cities. And many of those big cities, as a matter of fact, out of the top 25, 24 are run by Democrat politicians. And they often spoil for gun control activities, and they have the most strict gun rules anywhere in the world, at least anywhere in the United States. And the criminals, for whatever reason, just ignore the law. Of course, if they didn't ignore the law, then maybe they wouldn't be criminals. That is the absurd logic loop that we find ourselves in time and time and time again. And the entire nation, of course, recoiling with these liberal cities, having these problems insofar as the people that are being killed are disarmed by civic and county and state law. And it can't be the case. It simply cannot be the case. I mean, Henry Cuellar, the congressman from Texas, carjacked yesterday in Washington, D.C., progressive activists getting stabbed to death on the street. Good heavens to Betsy. That happened in New York. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. We've got more details on the removal of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House coming up in just a moment.
nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
And with that, the speakership of Kevin McCarthy came to an end yesterday in Washington, D.C. at the hands of hard right-wing Republican congresspeople. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. This is the Wells Report after leading a successful bipartisan effort to avoid a government shutdown over the weekend. Kevin McCarthy yesterday was abruptly removed from his role as U.S. House Speaker, ousted by hard right members of his own Republican Party less than a year after his election. I want to know what you think about this. Give us a call, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Please, by all means, join us. 817-379-2172. What do you think about this hard right Republican congressional move to remove Speaker Kevin McCarthy? The ousting of McCarthy represents the first time in U.S. history a Speaker of the House has been removed from office, marking an ignominious end to a short and fraught tenure for the California Republican. It comes as Americans' approval ratings of Congress and the federal government remain at near historic lows, with a majority saying they have little or no confidence in the future of the U.S. political system. The infighting between Republicans effectively puts a halt to all business in the House of Representatives until the House, which has only a narrow Republican majority, elects a new speaker. McCarthy said last night that he would not run for speaker again. As a matter of fact, he said that he's going to clear the way for a new Republican speaker if indeed the party members can reach a consensus. A lot of names have been named, and a lot of them will be discussed over the days. The actual House is in recess until next Tuesday. There will be a candidate forum for Speaker of the House, and then they'll vote on Wednesday. This is what Speaker McCarthy had to say yesterday here on the Wells Report.
Doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it is necessary. I don't regret standing up for choosing governance over grievance. It is my responsibility. It is my job. I do not regret negotiating. Our government is designed to find compromise. I don't regret my efforts to build coalitions and find solutions. I was raised to solve problems, not create them. So I may have lost a vote today, but as I walk out of this chamber, I feel fortunate to have served the American people. I leave the speakership with a sense of pride, accomplishment, and yes, optimism. From the day I entered politics, my mission has always been to make tomorrow better than today. I fought for what I believe in, and I believe in this country of America. My goals have not changed. My ability to fight is just in a different form. You need 218. Unfortunately, 4% of our conference can join all the Democrats and dictate who can be the Republican speaker in this House. I don't think that rule is good for the institution, but apparently I'm the only one.
This is a startling move on the part of all of these Republicans, and many people are saying many things, not all of them negative, certainly not all of them positive. We'll get to all of that here this morning on the Wells Report. Again, what do you think of this move? What are your thoughts on it? Give us a call, 817-379-2172. That's 817-379-2172. Here are the plans moving forward. Republicans plan to hold a vote for new speaker next Wednesday. This following a closed-door meeting on the 10th of October, that's Tuesday, to discuss different candidates. This according to Reuters. The vote to oust McCarthy followed a motion to vacate the chair from Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. After McCarthy's Republican allies failed to block the motion for moving forward, the final vote was held on Tuesday afternoon amid gasps from members in the tense chamber. The 8 hard-right Republicans joined 208 Democrats in supporting McCarthy's removal. 210 Republicans tried and failed to keep the speaker in place. McCarthy needed a simple majority of voting members to keep his gavel, but failed to cross that finish line in order to keep his speakership. The resolution is adopted. Steve Womack was the person running the actual vote, and he was brilliant yesterday. He is an Arkansas Republican. He presided over the session. He announced after the vote the office of the Speaker of the House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant. McCarthy sat stoically with his hands in his lap, but when the vote finished, he threw his head back and chuckled at his own plight as some members walked over to shake his hand. Following the declaration, Congressman Patrick McHenry, a North Carolina Republican, was designated by McCarthy as the acting Speaker until a new House leader is elected. Upon taking the gavel, McHenry quickly called for a recess. In the opinion of the chair, prior to the proceeding of the election of a speaker, it will be prudent to first recess for the relative caucus and conferences to meet and discuss the path forward, said McHenry. House Republicans met last night to regroup and finalize plans too, while Democrats need to meet or will meet this morning. Some Republican leaders condemned McCarthy's removal, with former Vice President and current presidential candidate Mike Pence suggesting it would undermine the GOP in the eyes of voters. Chaos is never America's strength. It's never a friend to American families that are struggling, said Pence at an event in Georgetown. Let's talk a little bit about that. A lot of this is essentially party, shall we say, anger at the fact that Kevin McCarthy is no longer the Speaker of the House. In other words, they are claiming what is the narrative term of art, chaos, in what is the Republican caucus. Now, there are a lot of different ways to look at this. I have long criticized the Republican Party to the point where I left the party for claiming defeat out of the jaws of victory. They do it time and time and time again. I am, however, not so sure to assess that as being the case in this particular circumstance. I'll tell you why coming up a little bit later on. The aspect of this has to do with a much bigger topic, but it's being submerged by angry Republicans who are throwing their hands up in the air and say, we've ruined ourselves, blah, 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 blah. Well, they haven't. They simply have not. But the vast majority of Republicans in the House of Representatives, very angry that Kevin McCarthy is no longer the Speaker. But there are significant problems having to do with something that we have referred to for years at this point, called the swamp. More recently, the term coined, at least by this reporter, is the political machine that runs the people of the United States and this nation. And Kevin McCarthy is assuredly a part of that political machine. So Republicans are now stomping all over these people who removed Kevin McCarthy for breakage of promises, they say, that were well known. Release of all the January 6th tapes. Why weren't those released? I don't know. But I suspect it's because Democrats asked Speaker McCarthy to at least slow walk that, if not write off releasing those January 6th tapes. Remember, the January 6th committee destroyed all their evidence, or at least made it go away at some level or another. And that wasn't their job. That information, all that information gathered by the January 6th conference, the committee, belonged to the people of the United States. Why did they get rid of it? Well, because they didn't want people to see it, that's why. And for whatever reason, there seems to be something about these tapes that, again, the prevailing body politic doesn't want us to see. Kevin McCarthy said he was going to release those tapes. Kevin McCarthy said he was going to do regular order. Kevin McCarthy said he was going to do something about the border. Kevin McCarthy said a lot of things to these conservatives that did not happen. More politics as usual. And granted, Speaker McCarthy was in an incredibly difficult position because indeed he has to overlook the entire House of Representatives, not just the Republican conference. There is something about fairness. There is something about working through in a deliberative body various issues to solution. But those solutions have not come. We have not seen those solutions. The border is a mess. What has the House of Representatives done about it? Yes, the weaponization of government is incredibly, starkly disturbing. malevolent, in fact, sinister even. And yes, there has been a committee that has moved forward on the weaponization of Congress, but we haven't heard much from them. The 2020 election created more questions than it answered, and yet, regardless of what you believe happened in that election, there should be a congressional hearing. There should be a congressional investigation on it. But that hasn't happened. Why? Because it looks like an awful lot of politics as usual. And then there's this. This government is $33 trillion in national debt. Yesterday, Matt Gaetz pointed out that the budget deficits moving forward will be somewhere around $2.2 trillion. $2.2 trillion. And that's just a situation of where we're talking about the deficit. That's every year. $2.2 trillion every year in the deficit. You must be joking. You've got to be kidding me. And all we can say is on this is that these are some of the things that were reacted to by these right-wing people. And I have to admit that there are certain things about this that I think are probably good. Matt Gaetz described it as tearing the Band-Aid off. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that he's tearing the Band-Aid off of this. And I can see that this would be something that needs to be changed at a level that is disturbing to an awful lot of people. Because remember, you're upending politics as usual in Washington, D.C. $33 trillion in national debt, that's not just a Democrat problem. That's not just a Republican problem. That is a congressional problem. Say what you want about Matt Gaetz. Cast aspersions on his motivations. Do whatever it is that you think is the right thing to do. But that $33 trillion of national debt, that's a fact. These budget deficits, $2.2 trillion in a budget deficit moving forward, those are facts. And something has to be done about that. And Kevin McCarthy wasn't doing anything about that. And say what you want about Matt Gaetz, there's only one person, there's only one group of people that consider that to be an extremely, even existential issue that needs to be taken up and dealt with. Kevin McCarthy wasn't going to do it. Kevin McCarthy proved it by working across the aisle to make a compromise on a bill for a continuing resolution to keep the government operating. And that was enough for these hardline Republican representatives. Again, I'm very interested in what you have to say. 817-379-2172. Telephone number ready to go. What do you have to say about this? What are your thoughts? 817-379-2172. It is essential that we discuss these things. In fact, this is very much a special town hall meeting of these very issues. This is something that we have to discuss, we the people of the United States. Now, I also said years and years ago, after the 2016 election, that America's body politic with the election of President Trump had been fired. But the politicians just didn't quite realize it. This might be, years after the fact, the next move in trying to make it very abundantly plain that, yeah, you've been fired. And finally, there were some people in the House of Representatives that came together and decided to exert a different direction, a different way of looking at things. And I'm not sure it's a bad idea. I'm not sure it's a bad idea at all. But once again, what about you? 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. There are people that are considering, in their anger, trying to oust Matt Gaetz. We'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Matt Gaetz is somebody who was under ethics investigations. Why? Is it because he's truly kind of a bad guy? I don't know. There are a lot of people saying that. As a matter of fact, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Newt Gingrich, has very strong words on this, and we will get to those coming up in just a couple of moments. 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. What are your thoughts about what happened yesterday? History making, in fact. Give us a call, 817-379-2172. What did Newt Gingrich have to say about these Republicans? It's eye-watering. It's next.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Lots of people are very angry at this man. Who is this man? His name is Matt Gaetz. Like I said, Newt Gingrich had some incredibly strong words. We're going to get to those coming up, but let me give you a little taste of what Matt Gaetz had to say to explain his actions yesterday when all of this came down. This is Matt Gaetz outside the Capitol building after Speaker McCarthy was removed from office.
It's the benefit of this country that we have a better Speaker of the House than Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy couldn't keep his word. He made an agreement in January regarding the way Washington would work, and he violated that agreement. We are $33 trillion in debt. We are facing $2.2 trillion annual deficits. We face a de-dollarization globally that will crush Americans, working class Americans. Kevin McCarthy is a feature of the swamp. He has risen to power by collecting special interest money and redistributing that money in exchange for favors. We are breaking the fever now, and we should elect a speaker who's better.
So if not Kevin McCarthy, then who?
You said last night that Steve Scalise was a name that you floated to potentially be speaker. Where do things stand right now? If not McCarthy, then who?
Well, the stages of grief, I think, are in progress right now with some of my colleagues. I think there was a stage of denial, and I've certainly experienced a good amount of their anger, and now we appear to be headed toward bargaining. I think the world of Steve Scalise. I think he'd make a phenomenal speaker.
Oh my God, we've got less than 45.
I'm afraid of $33 trillion in debt crushing the working people in my district. I'm afraid of the dollar losing its status as the global reserve currency. If they want to expel me, let me know when they have the vote.
Anyone talked less than 45 days left before we've got less than 45 days left before you have to pass a budget, which is something that you've been wanting to do. Doesn't this just completely paralyze the House? I mean, we could see 15 more rounds.
I don't think we will. I think Kevin McCarthy should take a hint. After 15 ballots to become Speaker, after 8 months of a failed speakership, and after removal in this historic manner, I think we should move on and find somebody else. What's paralyzed the House of Representatives has been the failure of Speaker McCarthy. What paralyzed the House of Representatives was not taking up appropriations bills. We left for a 6-week vacation while the appropriations process hung in the balance. And because I forced these people to take a few votes, you think I'm paralyzing the House of Representatives? I think the House of Representatives has been paralyzed for the last several decades as we've refused to pass a budget and as we've governed by continuing resolution and omnibus bill. So I think that this represents the ripping off of the Band-Aid, and that's what we need to do to get back on track.
All right, so that is Matt Gaetz, and like I said, he was very strong in his commentary. A lot of people are backing around this particular circumstance and saying that he had other motivations. One of them is Newt Gingrich, and Newt Gingrich was unsparing in his stinging critique of this entire process. Hang on just a moment here. Let me get this together, and there you go.
Very sad day, because I think Kevin McCarthy is one of the most talented leaders I've ever worked with. I think that he accomplished an amazing amount for having a small majority and having to take on both the Senate and the White House. And I think this is really a tragic outcome. This was a leader who both gained seats in 2020, gained seats in 2022, increased the number of women members, increased the number of veterans, increased the number of minority members, and he had a vision for a better future. And let's be clear here, Sean. If the University of Georgia Bulldogs, who are the #1 team in the country right now, if you started a game and 4 of the members of the offensive squad decided they were actually on the Alabama side and began tackling your own people, you probably get them off the field. Well, think about what we saw today. 4% decided they were so morally superior, so intellectually pure, so patriotically better, that they would side with the Democrats, and that's what they did, in order to defeat the entire Republican House caucus. 96% of the Republicans voted for McCarthy. 4% voted against him. From my position as a longtime Republican activist, they're traitors. All 8 of them should in fact be primaried. They should all be driven out of public life. What they did was to go to the other team to cause total chaos. We ought to be focusing on Biden. We ought to be focusing on the economy. We ought to be focusing on the border. Instead, you're going to get a week or 10 days of the media focusing on Republican disarray. It's an astonishingly destructive behavior by a handful of egocentric people who think they're superior to 96% of the conference.
All right, so that is what Newt Gingrich had to say. Now, it's even worse than that. It's even worse than what Newt Gingrich is talking about, because all of the Democrats voted to remove Kevin McCarthy as well. So what you have is a huge majority of Republicans and all of the Democrats voting for continuing with a policy and a set of policies. This is government by emergency, as I discussed yesterday. Government by emergency, by continuing resolution, by omnibus bills. $33 trillion in debt. They're continuing all that. This is an entire House of Representatives that has the power of the purse that came out yesterday for politics as usual. Multi-trillion-dollar budget deficits. Taking in $5 trillion and spending $7. Now, you can say anything you want to about these people, and in fact, Newt Gingrich talked an awful lot about how these people are traitors. Traitors to what? Traitors to the American people, traitors to the United States of America, or traitors to the body politic of the United States that's $33 trillion in debt. Now, everybody's worried about the standing of the Republican Party in the fact of the people of the United States. Well, there are historic low approval ratings. They've been that way for decades. What are we actually losing? Doesn't seem like much. Hour number 2 is next.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. What do we do here? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we depropagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That is not news. Commentary is your opinion and my opinion, and so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. We are discussing an incredibly important issue in the United States right now, and that is, for the first time in history, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has been removed. It is very akin to, in a parliamentary system, a vote of no confidence. And that was precipitated by 8 Republicans who decided that enough was enough. And in their rhetoric, they have mentioned a $33 trillion national debt, which should be scary to everyone. $2 trillion worth of budget deficits. That number varies between $1.5 trillion and $2.2 trillion. But it's ridiculous and inexcusable. And there are an awful lot of people that are very angry at these people for bringing this entire system down. Newt Gingrich just moments ago, and if you didn't hear it, if you're just joining us, call these people traitors. But traitors to who? Traitors to the people of the United States? Traitors to the United States of America? Or traitors to the political process? Respectfully, I think that Newt Gingrich is an amazing statesman and a brilliant politician. But I got to be perfectly honest with you on this one. I disagree. The dollar standing around the world is important. The good faith and credit of the United States of America is important. $33 trillion of national debt is ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It's atrocious. And these big budget deficits, equally atrocious. And that is what everyone who voted for Kevin McCarthy yesterday voted for, in my opinion. Just my opinion. What do you think? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You can join our chat at Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. By all means, please do so. We would appreciate it immensely. So a lot of people are saying, let's see, let me try to figure out what we've got. We will never win as Republicans until we can stand together and defeat the Democrats. Because as Mark Levin's new book says, the Democrat Party hates America. True. But Republicans have been standing with Democrats, and they have collectively come up with $33 trillion of national debt. That is a sword of Damocles hanging over us, our children, our grandchildren, even our great-grandchildren if we don't do something about it. Let's see. Ginny says McCarthy is the first speaker to ever be ousted. That is absolutely true. Ginny also points out that it might be that Jim Jordan will run as speaker. I don't know that he will or won't. I don't know. Let's see. $1 trillion a year servicing our national debt. That's from Mike. Eddie Jones says, heard it happened in 1910. Also, that was a different story. He wasn't actually removed by a vote. And just like that, Newt loses credibility that he had, exposes himself as a DS shill. Well, you know, all I can tell you is this, is that these people that are talking and saying such nasty things about Matt Gaetz and those 8 Republicans or the 7 Republicans with Matt Gaetz, they're all political people. They're all dealing with a political system. Well, these people were fired in 2016 with the election of Donald Trump. And they didn't get it. If they did get it, they just ignored it. They just decided, no, that's not real. No, it is real. And there are 8 people in Washington, D.C. at this moment, at least according to their rhetoric, who are following the will of the people of the United States, demonstrated with the popularity of Donald Trump and this populist idea that indeed the people of the United States govern themselves. Not a ruling class of Democrats and Republicans. You've got to keep this in mind, in my view. Everybody except for 8 Republicans voted for $33 trillion of national debt, voted for unsustainable budget deficits, voted for all that. And that's what these people are doing right now. They're all standing up there and saying, my God, they're traitors. Well, traitors to the political process. But are they traitors to you and me and the nation and our children? I don't think so. What do you think? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Getting back to the chat room. Let's see. Older generation told me that Newt lost credibility when he broke the contract with America. He actually did not break the contract with America. The contract with America was brilliant, and he passed all of those things. A lot of them died in the Senate, and a lot of them died because Republicans wouldn't support them. And a lot of them were also vetoed by President Clinton at the time. So what you have to keep in mind is there's an awful lot to say there regarding Newt Gingrich and the contract with America. It was a brilliant, by the way, political move. Let's see what else. We need to shake things up. No more omnibus bills. We want to see who's voting for each line item. I agree. I absolutely agree. Let's see. That's all we have. Mike Renouy, Mike, a dear friend of ours, talks about the Uniparty. That's exactly what's going on here. The Uniparty. Let's get back to our reporting on this. This from USA Today. Republican Kevin McCarthy was etched into the history books yesterday, becoming the first speaker to be driven out after a handful of hardline conservatives joined the Democrats to take the gavel. In many ways, McCarthy's ouster was foreshadowed in January, where a razor-thin GOP majority took 5 days and 15 rounds of votes for the California Republican to become the speaker. McCarthy was able to claw to the speaker's seat by herding right-wing critics back into his camp after making several behind-the-scenes concessions, including a rule that allowed a single member to call for a vote ousting the speaker. But also, he made some other promises, the release of the January 6th tapes. Why? Why isn't that the case? Why don't we have those in front of us? It seems like Matt Gaetz, who says Kevin McCarthy is willing to deal with Democrats on things that he promised and essentially negotiate away promises he made with Democrats, some of that might be true. Democrats don't want to see that January 6th video come out. That's why the committee destroyed all their evidence. They destroyed all their testimony, destroyed all their transcripts. Which, by the way, if you're going to throw President Trump in jail for mishandling of public documents, there are people on that January 6th committee that need to go right down the tubes with him. I have an idea what the rules ought to be, but what I don't have any dispute with is that the rules ought to apply to everybody. So if President Trump mishandled government documents, so did the January 6th committee. Now, obviously, somebody made a deal. That's why we don't have those videos. Was that Kevin McCarthy? Matt Gaetz thinks so. And so you got to keep something in mind here. These people that are yammering and angry, they're angry because the body politic got kicked in the teeth yesterday. And that's something that should have happened a long time ago, in my opinion. So after Kevin McCarthy said bring it on yesterday, he was unable to quell the GOP rebels, etc., and lost his position. McCarthy wasn't the only congressional leader tested. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries came out swinging when he explained why his caucus should not come to McCarthy's rescue. In a lengthy letter to members, he cited the GOP's unwillingness to break from Make America Great Again extremism as the chief reason. That's just a political statement. It's now the responsibility of the GOP to end the House Republican civil war. That's a departure from how the New York lawmaker, who many expected to be the speaker should Democrat 2024, has wielded the minority in previous fights. Is Matt Gaetz a hero or a villain? That's exactly the right question to ask. The camera-loving Republican from Florida who threatened to shut down the government and masterminded the ousting of Speaker Kevin McCarthy has made more than a few enemies in Congress. He doesn't care. He represents a district in Florida that hasn't gone Democrat in decades, went for former President Trump in 2020 by 68 to 29%. That means in 2018, for instance, the election gurus gave him a 99% chance of being reelected, even though his approval rating was a dismal 20%, which is worse than Joe Biden. Consequently, Gaetz has little sympathy for centrist colleagues in toss-up districts who must win over independent voters who are likely to be appalled by the chaos in the GOP caucus. He apparently has little commitment to his party or to maintaining the Republican majority in the House. To those of us who view Joe Biden's agenda as dangerous for the country, Gaetz' unseating of Speaker McCarthy, which will stoke the Democrat narrative that the GOP is incapable of governing and give more power to House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, is reckless and selfish. It is said his attention-getting antics are fed by his desire to be a TV host. Well, if the shoe fits. What is McCarthy's crime in the view of Gaetz and his fellow GOP bomb throwers gathering Democrat votes to pass a bill to keep the federal government open? The irony, of course, is that Gaetz himself relied on Democrats to help him topple McCarthy. Well, did they? Did Gaetz rely on Democrats to do that? The entire caucus voted against McCarthy. If some in the Democrat caucus had voted to save McCarthy, that would be a point. That would be a point. But the entire Democrat caucus voted to remove Speaker McCarthy as the Speaker of the House. So that argument kind of goes to the way of all things. So Gaetz' most enduring offense, however, is to tag fiscal conservatism as the purview of the people that Biden would happily call MAGA extremists. He and House colleagues have attacked Congress's enthusiasm for kicking the fiscal can down the road, have made excessive federal spending the focal point of their insurrection. Those complaints are justified, says Liz Peek. Squabbling over our deficits is not crazy. And so Liz Peek comes up with a very measured and very balanced look at just exactly what the Republicans have found themselves in, the position that they're in right this minute. And that's where all of us should be. We should be considering the pluses and minuses of Matt Gaetz' move. There are both.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Rosie Martinez says, I agree with the decision of getting rid of McCarthy. McConnell should be next. I agree. And this is something that we need to discuss. It is the future of the Republican Party. The future of the Republican Party. Matt Gaetz said yesterday that McCarthy was a creature of the swamp. Mitch McConnell most assuredly is. Republican Party leadership is about enabling, at least in my view, Democrat priorities, as opposed to fighting them tooth and nail. Well, we finally have fighters fighting these things tooth and nail, and they have set themselves apart from many in their own party. The question is, who's right? And who answers that question? Certainly not politicians. Certainly not talking heads on various broadcasts, including this one. No, only you know. You, as a part of we the people. We're the only ones that know. and we have to speak collectively, which is why you're invited to speak collectively if you'd like. One at a time, hopefully. 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. I say hopefully one at a time because as you watch the Republican debates, lots of people talk all at once, and it's a pain in the butt, and I hate it, and it drives me nuts. I absolutely drive it. It's ridiculous. Those debates are worse for the Republican Party. In my view, those debates are worse for the Republican Party than anything Matt Gaetz has done in the last couple of days. That being said, who is going to take over? Who is going to be the next Speaker of the House? Steve Scalise is being mentioned. Jim Jordan is being mentioned. And what do you have? Well, you also have a guy named Donald John Trump. As a matter of fact, Donald John Trump is being brought up today. Representative Troy Nehls of Texas said in a statement yesterday his first order of business when the House reconvenes will be to nominate Donald J. Trump for Speaker of the House. Greg Steube of Florida followed suit on X. The next speaker does not have to be a current member of the House of Representatives. Every speaker in U.S. history has been. It's not the first time that Trump has been floated for a nominee. As a matter of fact, Matt Gaetz himself cast a ballot for Donald Trump for Speaker last time. In a gaggle with reporters on the Hill after the vote, Gaetz said he'd support several members of Congress should they decide to run for the post, including GOP Representative Tom Emmer, Mike Johnson. By the way, Mike Johnson, amazing politician. Every time I see that guy, I actually get to see somebody who's really thinking. He's on the House Oversight Committee, and this guy really knows what he's doing. He is sober, he is straightforward, he is focused. He would be perfect. I don't know whether he wants to run for this, but Mike Johnson, that guy has got it, and I certainly hope he considers it. Matt Gaetz also said that he would support Jody Arrington, Steve Hearn, Steve Scalise. None of those people, by the way, voted to oust Speaker McCarthy. House Financial Services Chairman Patrick McHenry will serve as interim Speaker, as we've discussed. House rules dictated that McCarthy, upon his election as Speaker in January, provide a list of members to succeed him as Speaker pro tempore should the office be vacated, as it was with his removal. It was revealed following the vote to oust McCarthy that Mr. McHenry would be at the top of the list. He's a former media consultant, political operative, first elected to the House to represent North Carolina's 10th District. He was elected as the House Republican Chief Deputy Whip in 2015, served in the role until 2019, selected as chair of the House of Financial Services Committee in January. And so, that is what's going on. But should Donald John Trump be the next Speaker of the House of Representatives? We will see. I don't think he wants the job. As a matter of fact, I'm absolutely positive he doesn't want the job. But that being said, stranger things have happened, huh? Where do we stand right now? Give us a call, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. Chat available on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, etc. Let's see. Would be interesting if Trump became Speaker of the House. Any thoughts on this? Well, yeah. I don't think that he'd be elected as Speaker of the House for political reasons. There are too many people. Just like was talked about with regard to the body politic and money. The Republican Party has backed themselves into a corner. After refusing to defend President Trump during his tenure as President of the United States and allowing all the jackals of the deep state to sabotage the former president's agenda. You know, they're in a position where they don't want Donald Trump any more than Democrats do. And the reason is because he represents a threat to the body politic, just like Matt Gaetz does right this very moment. So no, they wouldn't vote him in as Speaker of the House. He can be nominated. He's not going to get the job, and I don't think he really wants it. And the reason he doesn't want it is because he's running for president. And so the only thing that I can say on this is President Trump is somebody who has got other fish to fry, especially at this particular moment. He's in a New York courtroom as we speak. And from what we understand, and we'll get to more of these updates here in just a couple of minutes, he's much more animated today than he has been in the past. This is what he had to say earlier today when indeed he showed up at the courtroom for day 3 of his trial.
If I weren't leading in all the polls, or if I weren't running, I wouldn't have any of these cases. I wouldn't be seeing you this morning. But I'll be seeing a lot of you, because this is a horrible thing that's happening to our country, and we've got to get it straightened away. So we'll go in and see our rogue judge, and we'll listen to this man. And I think most people get it. People are getting it. I can tell you the voters getting it, because every time they give me a fake indictment, I go up in the polls, and that's never happened before. But this is a disgrace, and you ought to go after this attorney general, because she's turning off everybody from coming in. You know, I don't know if you take a look at the outflow of business. Businesses are fleeing New York because of horrible, horrible attorney generals and judges like we have. They go to other places where they can be treated fairly and with respect. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
All right, that was President Trump earlier today as he arrived in court. And as we discussed, he's having a much more animated day today. CNN is providing live updates. Now, remember, Judge Engoron gave a basic gag order because there was an irresponsible tweet by President Trump, apparently, that went out yesterday regarding one of the aides of the judge. That's over the line. It was a very small gag order. It was very narrow. Don't talk about my staff. Well, that's not like a gag order, but that's the way it was portrayed in the media. Now, these are brand new. These are brand new things. This is 4 minutes ago. Judge has reminded the Trump attorney there's no jury in here during cross-examination. Judge Arthur Engoron, who's overseeing the civil case in New York against Donald Trump, reminded the former president's lawyers Wednesday, that is today, that they aren't making a case to a jury during the cross-examination of a former accountant. Trump visibly reacted, throwing his arms up in the air in response to the judge's comments. Trump has complained repeatedly, including as he walked into court today, that the state law New York Attorney General Letitia James used to sue him and his businesses for $250 million does not allow for a jury trial. This was something that many people were talking about. Many people said that Donald Trump's attorneys asked that there not be a jury trial. Well, that's not the case. The case of the matter is that the law that Attorney General Letitia James is using precludes a jury trial. I mean, does this not look like a political exercise to you now, or as this continues to move forward? Sure looks like it to me. Seems like it's a giant mess. Anyway, Trump visibly reacted, hence the idea that he's more animated today. He has complained that this law precludes a jury trial. Engoron will decide whether Trump and his co-defendants are liable and what punishments they would face if so. He ruled last week that Trump and his co-defendants had committed fraud. For all intents and purposes, he is now prejudicial in his belief about President Trump. In other words, if indeed, regardless of what this judge does, this is not going to survive long in an appeals court. Whatever decisions he makes, it's not going to stand. And this is all one of those things that Trump is going through, and it seems extremely unfair to me. I could be wrong. What are your thoughts? 817-379-2172. Earlier this morning, during a cross-examination of former Mazars accountant Doug Bender, make that Donald Bender, Trump attorney Jesus Suarez tried to attack Bender's credibility by showing that he had previously said that someone else was the lead partner in the Trump account. But the engagement documents presented in court only show his name and Mazars' partner on the Trump account. He's the guy that's running the show, according to the paperwork. Engoron stepped in and said there was no jury in the case. He does not think that it matters who was the lead partner. In jury trials, lawyers are given leeway to raise questions about the credibility of witnesses by showing other evidence that could contradict what they're saying. In this case, the judge is the only one to decide the witness credibility in the case. Well, it seems to me that he should be able to hear that there are attacks on credibility, etc. Once again, this is going to die a quick death in an appeals court, this entire proceeding. Trump then threw his hands up in the air in response, shaking his head no as the cross-examination continued. Trump once again threw his hands in the air, pointed at his ear, frustrated that it was difficult to hear Bender speak. Another Trump attorney, Alina Habba, asked Bender to speak up. Former President Trump attacked New Jersey Letitia James, New Jersey Attorney General Letitia James again, along with the statute of the law used to sue him on his way into his third day of civil fraud trial. She brought the case under the statute. We've already talked about that. James has been in court attending the trial. It's unclear if she heard Trump's comments in the hallway. Trump also added his financial statements were perfect. There was no fraud, and the banks love us. I borrowed the money. I paid the money back in full, 100%. However, the law says it's no defense that the loans were paid back. The claim still holds since the judge already found Trump and his organization committed fraud by misrepresenting his finances to get better terms on loans. And again, earlier today, we discussed those particular evaluations made by tax assessors. Well, tax assessments and actual value as determined by the marketplace are two completely different things. In other words, it's not the judge's business what someone will pay for a given property. He does not set prices for real estate. I guarantee you that Mar-a-Lago is worth more than $18 million. That was the tax assessment. And by the way, I'd really like to see the tax assessments. I brought this up yesterday. I want to see the tax assessments for the properties that Trump owns in New York. Yeah, I bet you those are above market value. Because that's how New York governs itself. That's how New York actually operates. Tax revenue. And you think about the tax revenue that Trump has paid the state and city of New York, it's eye-watering. And to think that some judge can look into a particular business deal using tax assessments, it's not apples to apples. It's a completely different evaluation. We reported that earlier today. Let's see. Former President Trump's attorney, Jesus Suarez, was somebody who pointed out that Donald Bender had essentially, he tried to establish the accountant's knowledge of the inner workings of the Trump business enterprise and how frequently he gave advice on business matters. Bender said he occasionally reviewed loan agreements for the Trump organization, did audit work for Trump entities that owned property over the years, including the ones that are at issue in the case. Suarez repeatedly asked Bender to acknowledge the Trump organization relied on him as his primary accountant, or as its primary accountant. Bender said his only duty was to compile the information given by the Trump organization when it came to the statements of financial condition, and that the Attorney General says were fraudulently created by the Trump organization. Once again, this doesn't go very far. There's just no way for this to actually this could possibly succeed, except as a summary judgment on the part of a judge who does not have a jury that he has to administrate, who does not indeed have to even protect himself from prejudicial, there it is. I couldn't come up with that word earlier. Prejudicial statements he makes himself. He's already determined that President Trump is guilty of fraud, and now they're trying to figure out just how much this is going to cost. And when you start thinking about that, 80% of the cases that were brought by Letitia James have passed the statute of limitations. Again, this is a serious mess. This is a serious mess. I can't see this going anywhere. I can't see it going anywhere beyond this particular proceeding. And if it does, there's something real wrong. Now, we've been also talking about the fact that there are now questions being asked regarding the evaluations of these properties. Appraisal values and market values are not the same thing. This is according to a guy named Eli Baracha. He's the chair of the School of Real Estate at Florida International University. It's especially true for properties that are unique. Mar-a-Lago is obviously a unique property. Dina Goldenteyer, she's the executive director of sales at Douglas Elliman in South Florida. She said in her experience in the ultra-luxury marketplace, the tax assessor's valuation isn't considered when trying to value a property. He wouldn't make a very good realtor, said Goldenteyer of the judge. It's so widely known that that's not an accurate determination of market value. Goldenteyer added if there's a ranking as to what had been the lowest valuation, it's the tax assessor's office, followed by Zillow, and then the realtor's valuation is the highest. It's not correct to assume that a tax assessment and market value are the same thing. This was Jonathan Miller, president and CEO of Miller Samuel Incorporated, a real estate appraisal company in New York City. They can be in some markets, they are the same things, but that is not the case in a lot of markets. It's not an accurate determination of market value. Melissa Cintron, partner in the insurance defense and corporate and real estate practice groups at Harrington, Acco, and Monk, said it's not contestable that Mar-a-Lago is worth more than $28 million based on improvements in a market analysis. Of course, just because the tax assessment value is used by the judge may have lowballed the value of Mar-a-Lago, it doesn't necessarily mean Trump used a fair valuation for Mar-a-Lago either. That's a point that's up to debate. Exactly. And where does that debate get held? Does that debate get held in the Attorney General's office of a particular state in the United States? Does that particular debate on market value happen, say, for example, in a judge's courtroom? No. That debate occurs in something called the marketplace. If you can get somebody to pay more than market value for something, congratulations. You're the basic art agent for Hunter Biden. Because Hunter Biden's art, valued well beyond what anybody would normally expect for a brand new artist making a national impact. But since he's the vice president's son and dealing with public notoriety, that boosts the value. You can't make these determinations in a courtroom. You simply can't. It's the marketplace, and the judge and the proceeding and the attorney general and the state has no business sticking its nose into private business agreements. Period. And if that does ever change, the United States is gone. Because if indeed agents of the government decide what a property value is, then you don't have property. You don't. We don't have a free market system. We don't have capitalism. We have value by governmental fiat based on politics. And that's where we are right now with this entire proceeding. That's why I'm going to say, and that's why I have said, that as soon as this gets into some kind of appeals court system, probably outside the state of New York, this is going to vanish. So what's going on in the meantime? Well, Donald Trump has to deal with it. He has to listen to people on news organizations that are all equally corrupt because they're part of the same machine. Talk about how ridiculous and fraudulent and terrible Donald Trump is. He has to do that every single day. Until all of this is thrown out by an appeals court, and then these very same pundits are going to say, oh, by the way, Trump, that thing in New York, that thing over value, it was overturned today by the New York appeals court. Moving on to baseball, that's how they're going to handle it. And of course, you know all that. You know that the mainstream media is a part of this entire political machine running the people of the United States and the nation and so on. Into the ground, by the way. And that's why you're here, listening to this particular newscast instead of one that's going to be on ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox, anywhere. You're watching this one because this one's fair. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. More of the Wells Report coming up in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. News just coming out at this particular moment from CNN. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio has just said today he will run to be the next House Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, replacing Kevin McCarthy. Jordan replied yes when asked if he is running for Speaker, and said he had just talked to House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican, who is likely to face when the Republican conference gets back into action next Tuesday. They're going to have a candidate discussion about who's going to be the next Speaker of the United States. Now that conversation will not just include Steve Scalise, good guy. Spoken to him on this broadcast, in fact. Steve Scalise is a stand-up guy. But then again, so is Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is going to run, and that is good news for the Republican conference. And if you happen to be a member of the Republican Party, that's good news for you, too. The House is essentially paralyzed while it lacks a speaker following McCarthy's historic ousting and subsequent announcement he will not run to reclaim the gavel. House Republicans are slated to hear from speaker candidates at a forum next Tuesday, setting up the next possible House-wide speaker vote for Wednesday, October 11th. This one's going to be quick. It's not going to be 15 ballots. It's going to be 1, maybe 2. Jordan and Scalise are on a growing list of possible McCarthy successors. That includes Oklahoma Representative Kevin Hern, who chairs a conservative group known as the Republican Study Committee, House Majority Whip Tom Emmer of Minnesota. Jordan chairs the House Judiciary Committee, which is an important body for pursuing Republican investigative priorities, including one of the 3 committees behind the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. It would be my hope that Speaker Jordan, if he becomes the Speaker of the House of Representatives, remains in those posts, but I don't know that he would. I don't know that he would stay on that post. It could be, but likely he would turn it over to somebody else. But I think that Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee, that guy is a brilliant chairman. And if you happen to believe that the Republican Party should have answers to very serious questions being asked by the Judiciary Committee, the House Oversight Committee, the House Ways and Means Committee, then you'd kind of like to see Jim Jordan remain in that post, but I don't know that the Speaker can do that. And so there's pluses and minuses, but like I said, I think that is very good. That's a very good piece of information that we haven't had in the past. So indeed, Jim Jordan confirming that he is running for House Speaker is good news. So we will see what else happens. Now, what we have to keep in mind in this, in my humble view, is that there is a big picture here. And as I divorced myself from the Republican Party years and years ago, because they just simply weren't doing it. They were not handling the people's business. They were handling Republican Party business. And I said, enough's enough. And so I walked away from the Republican Party and stayed away. So I got a better perspective on what was going on with the Republican Party. And I got to be honest with you. The Republican Party is just as guilty in their part with this $33 trillion debt and these budget overruns. They're just as guilty as the Democrat Party. And it is going to take somebody that has the guts to stand up and do something like this for the sake of a country staying in reasonable economic health. And that's not, you can't say that about the people of the you can't say that about the government of the United States. This nation has serious financial issues. We don't want those issues to run away with this entire nation. And of course, there are conspiracy theories as to, well, maybe that's exactly why we have these problems. Because if you can get the financial issues to run away with the nation, then you do have problems. The good faith and credit of the United States of America, only argued about when, say, for example, somebody's saying we might have a government default. If we keep moving like this, we're going to have a government default. There's no doubt about it. Even President Trump said, we might as well default. We might as well. It's going to happen sooner or later. And politicians are the last people on earth to be able to have the power that they have regarding the economic future and viability of the people of the United States and their nation. It's our nation, not theirs. That we do not have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution of the United States is outrageously stupid. And we should have had that 50 years ago. My goodness, we should have had it at the beginning of the entire nation. Wouldn't bother me if there were 11 entries in the Bill of Rights as opposed to 10. Get through to the 10th Amendment, which reserves rights to the states or the people themselves. Oh, by the way, here's Amendment number 11. Beyond a reasonable amount of national debt, to be determined by Alexander Hamilton, who said that national debt isn't necessarily a bad thing because it reins in the ideas of government. Well, that's out the window. But if he had said, that national debt will not be more than 2% of the gross domestic product of the people of the government, or the nation of the United States, that would be doable. That would be somewhere in the vicinity of, he's estimating now, $3.2 trillion. Somewhere in that vicinity. And that would be good. Well, things are exciting. We'll see what happens next. The executive producer of the Wells Report is Dirk Steele. Our associate producer, and indeed our publicist, is Jude Dankworth. I'm John David Wells. Thanks very much for watching this broadcast. We'll see you again tomorrow. And just like that, that is a wrap All right. By the way, thanks very much for a brilliant day on the chat room. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you guys do so well. Thank you. And like I said, I got a whole bunch of things I got to get done, so I'm going to start doing those until tomorrow. Have a great day, and I'll see you at 09 Central Time tomorrow.